welcome to Chaotic Risk TV. We're going to have a round. We have some of the members of the band Razorwire Halo. I'm going to have the guys go around and introduce themselves. So why don't we start with you, Tack?
Yeah, I'm Tack. I'm the lead singer of Razorwire Halo.
And Kyle, tell us a little. Tell us who you are.
Yep. I'm Kyle. I am the guitarist for Razorwire Halo, one of them, and I also engineer. I do mixing and mastering stuff for the bands.
That's great. And how you want to introduce yourself, David?
Yeah, David. Primarily do some background synthesizers and work like that. Usually go by the pseudonym Renrot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Tack was sharing that. Now, just so people watching this, in case you guys are wondering, Kyle is unable to join us on camera, but that's all right. We still want him to be part of this interview. So I want to thank you, Kyle, for taking part any way you can. That's always great. And what's important is we want to get you guys a story. And I got to ask you guys, talk about the formation of the band. How long is the band? When was the band formed? And I got to ask, of course, how you came up with the name. What a cool name, Razorwire Halo.
Yeah, the band's been actually around for a very long time. I think the initial version of it was 2001. I was still in high school at that point.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, and it's gone through quite a few iterations. David actually was a part of that initial kind of build out. It wasn't until 2005 that there was an album that was actually released. But the present day band itself is nothing like it was back then. You won't actually even find most of those albums anymore. I think it's 2012, 2013, something like that, is where we kind of retooled, rebranded, and became who we are now. So you can find old stuff out there if you dig hard enough on that. But you'll pretty much find on Spotify and everything like 2012 up on those pieces of it. And then we were looking for a band name that worked really well. David and I actually had two separate bands, and we merged those bands together. And so we went through and we're thinking, what sounds good. We didn't want to do like a one word title band. We wanted something that we could play with a little bit, that we could shorten, that we could give a little bit of texture around it. Some people might say it's got a little bit of a religious tone to it. It's not actually supposed to. So we don't really view it in that way at all. Everyone kind of looks at things a little bit different. They're,
well, I wasn't even necessarily thinking religious, but Razorwire Halo. Okay, Halo. Obviously, people might get that that thought process going. About like an angel, and then Razorwire, kind of like it gives a kind of that dark metal kind of sound. So you got kind of like two opposing things going at the same time, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And you want something visual, right? You want something that gives everyone gives them something to kind of think about when they're looking at it. And yeah, you're absolutely right. If it's a little visceral, if it's a little ugly, it's a little violent, it fits perfectly.
But that's great. I mean, it creates a great visual, and I think Razorwire Halo. People hear the music; it's not too far off from what it sounds like.
Yeah. It's aggressive. Yeah.
And David, so as Tack says that you've been with him since the beginning, did you guys feel that immediate chemistry when you first got together and started creating music together?
Yeah, definitely. I think I always went more experimental than Tack. He was much better at formulating songs that people wanted to listen to. So I kind of went down the film score path for a while. And that's where I primarily resided until recently.
And you were saying, David, that you go by name or something. I take it you guys have like characters or personas, so to speak. You guys want to talk at all about that?
Yeah. David, I'll let you talk about your side first, and I'll talk about the Razor side of things.
Mine's easy because it's just my last name backwards.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's cool. Yeah.
He is a 3, so.
Yeah. For Razor, one of the things that we've always tried to do, and Kyle and I have been talking about this for this new release coming up, was for years and years and years, everything we did was very, very thematic. We wanted everything to have a story, to take you on a journey. Especially 10, 15 years ago, you still would have a full album versus releasing singles all the time.
Sure.
And so the last couple, obviously we've done a couple of singles, but last year we released a full album. But before that, we were kind of doing EPs and singles again. And we felt like we lost a little bit of what made us special, which was those concepts, those themes. And so if you go back to all the way back to 20, I want to say 12, Kyle might correct me on that, but like Bombshell and then Robot Boy, those albums were very, very concept driven. And the characters that we have within those are based around those themes. So, Tack myself, this is who I am. However, on these concepts that we're going, we may inject a little bit of ourselves into those storylines. We did a 3 album trilogy of The Occurrence, After the Fall, and New Empire. And those 3 had really in-depth characters around that. And the different musicians that were working with us at that time really got to be kind of enveloped in that. And when we perform live, we use that. We use a lot of projection. We use a lot of 3D mapping and things like that to make us a part of that storyline rather than just a band playing on a stage.
I'd like to ask you, Kyle, the man that comes up with the great guitar riffs there. This somebody that's into metal or hard rock, this is not your typical metal. What I mean is typically when you listen to typical metal or even a rock song, the song is all about the guitars and the riffs and the riffing and the soloing. Whereas, I don't know, maybe it's just my ear, but like I would describe the sound of your guys' band as modern metal, got a modern sound, and can't really say you guys necessarily sound anything else. And to my listening, like when I listen to Time Bomb, I hear the guitar, but it's not your typical kind of guitar playing. It almost sounds like, there's some loops going on in the music. I'm not sure if that's correct. So I wanted to ask you about that.
Sure. Yeah. So my my background's actually primarily metal as well. Growing up, I was always kind of more drawn to that style, certain style of playing anyways. But coming into Razorwire, I think it was 2016, 2017, somewhere in that range. That it was a bit of a shift for me. But it did end up working out pretty well. Especially with this newer stuff, we are kind of going towards more of a heavier sound, and it's working out really great, I think, between me, Tack, and David. And then yeah, with the looping, there's part of what makes the maybe like David's style of like more experimental stuff with the more not radio friendly pop style or structured stuff. You get those kind of loops and stuff too, and I personally kind of enjoy writing that way too, because I also listen to all kinds of different kinds of music. So one of my other genres I like a lot is like house, which is a lot of loops and stuff too. And it's kind of figuring out how to make something that maybe is inherently kind of simple a little bit more interesting. And then something that Tack likes to do a lot too is just add layer on top of layer on top of layer. So there's some parts in some of these songs that have 6, 7, 8 different guitar parts to it all at the same time. So it makes for a really interesting kind of soundscape there.
And as a listener, it really is cool because, again, and I'm interested when you guys went in and you're writing this stuff and creating it. It's got to be a different process as far as writing, because it doesn't sound like again that you're writing the typical guitar solo. Not that that's a bad thing, but I think that's why maybe you guys don't sound like every other metal band out there. You got your own unique sound, and that's kind of hard to do in this modern day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think we all kind of bring something a little different from the table. We all come from different musical backgrounds and stuff, which happens to work out pretty nicely, I think. So
and David, as an engineer, the guy that helping the band kind of produce that sound, what's it like, to kind of get those different sounds as you guys are recording the music?
Yeah, it's a lot of focus on the sound design aspects of it. Usually Tack has something already preconceived as far as a melody and structure and even what the vocals might sound like. So I'm just taking that and applying kind of a sound palette. I decide what's going to sound good for the next series of songs, put that off into the side, and then use that same template across everything.
And how about you, Tack, as a lead singer, the guy that probably writes most of the lyrics? I mean, what's your approach to writing songs? I mean, do you typically go in and maybe have Kyle come up with a riff? Do you play any instruments yourself?
I do. So a lot, and specifically way back when we first started, I did a lot of the writing, and I had a few people kind of coming in and out. After we kind of rebooted and Kyle came on board, David came on, Rob, who's not joining us today, but he's our other guitarist. they came in and they added an extra layer of caliber that I could never do. I'm not a lead guitarist. I have melodies in my head, vocals, guitars, bass, things like that are rhythmic based. However, I can't do that lead pieces. I can't bring things to life on that side of it. So,
do you play guitar on stage when you guys play, or just in the
not
studio?
anymore. Not anymore. So yeah, Kyle and Rob will play guitar live. I used to just do rhythm, but I like to move around a lot. I like to interact with the crowd, and I feel like having to sing and play guitar live hinders that capability of that kind of
Yeah, 'cause
connection.
I know a lot of singers. On one hand, they say like the guitar is kind of a safety net. I'm not up there on stage alone. But then on the other hand, people have told me it's a real difficult thing to play guitar. You got to remember all the notes. You got to play plus lyrics, plus
Yeah,
trying to get the crowd going.
and I'm sloppy as hell. I'm the guy that makes the really ugly guitar tones and sounds on the tracks, and then Kyle comes in and makes them prettier, and then I tell him no, I meant to make that really gross sounding. Um, and then vocally, I try to base the vocals out of a place of what plays well with the music. So we're not
Sure, sure.
necessarily vocal first band. We're much
Okay.
more music first, and the
Okay.
vocals put in where they need to be.
I could kind of hear that in listening to the songs, and no offense to you, Tack, but I do think you could insert any singer, not and the music would still be good. The songs would still be good. Again, nothing against you, but
Yeah, yeah.
it seems like the music kind of really stands out to my ear when I was listening to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? It's kind of funny because over the years, we have guest vocalists all the time. We have a lot of female vocals that come in, and because I really like that kind of texture difference
Sure.
between tracks, and you'll hear that across all of our albums, where totally different singers will come in and will replace me on those pieces, and it works really well. It doesn't sound like suddenly just some random person's on the album. It more feels like the concept of the album is flowing correctly.
And at the same time, it must be interesting for you in this aspect that maybe you wrote the lyrics, but somebody else, they're singing your song, they're singing your words, and you hear the finished product, and you're like, maybe that's not the way I would have sung. You know what? But I love that version.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
yeah.
Well, yeah, especially if you're, I do my what I call my 1,000 listen process where I write a track, I work on it, we build things, I listen to it 1,000 times, and if I'm still not in love with it, then I'm not really going to be releasing that track or asking everyone to think about releasing that one. And that'll happen where if I originally sang something and then I listen to it enough and then I have somebody else come in, then there may be a spot or two where I'm like, ooh, I really like the way I did it that way. I wish they would have done that. But
Yeah.
again, everyone's interpretation. So
Yeah. And talk about interpretation. I mean, when you have fans kind of reacting to your songs and your music, coming up to you, maybe after a live gig and telling you, hey, I really dug this song, and they interpret the song totally, maybe a different way than what you intended it to be interpreted, maybe based on their own life experience.
yeah.
And that's got to be interesting for you as a writer, because you're like, that's not what I wrote the song about, but if that's what you got out of it, great.
Exactly. Well, and that's what you want. I don't want to be I don't want to be literal. I don't
Yeah.
want someone to hear the song and go, I literally know what that means. I would rather them interpret it the way they want.
Yeah.
And that allows the concept albums to breathe too. Because if you hear like Time Bomb on its own, it stands on its own. But when you hear it with the rest of this album that's coming out, you're going to get a different feel from it. It's going to make maybe more sense or
Yeah.
make completely different sense than what you thought it was going to be. Group the rest of these tracks that we're going to release.
And I was curious, Tack, were you always a singer, or did you start out like a lot of guys, just playing the guitar, and maybe out of the fact that you had the best voice in all the bands you were in? Hey, Tack, why don't you sing? You got the best sounding voice. Or how surprised were you?
Part of it's out of necessity.
Yeah.
So again, David didn't write for quite a few years in between those time frames,
Mhm.
and Kyle wasn't around. So a lot of it was I was the only person writing, and so I wanted vocals and tracks. So I just pushed and said, okay,
Okay.
what do I want to do? How do I make this feel? How do I want to do this? And then eventually, it's something that I really love to do. I
Sure.
like standing up in front of the crowd. I like kind of interworking with everybody. It's fun for me, and that's why I don't play guitar live. I would much rather do that aspect of it, and I couldn't imagine myself like playing like bass or something and just chilling back on
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah.
I would still be kind of like I wouldn't say hamming it up, but I would definitely be going to 11 on it, right?
Okay. So David, I'll go to you next and ask you now. Tack mentioned that you guys been together for several years, and I guess you took a break or something. But talk about the point in the band when you got back with them, and it got to the point where you're starting to contribute to the writing as well as the producing and engineering. What was that like to kind of finally get a chance to be a contributor to the writing, if you will?
It was definitely interesting. I think I had started working on, it sounds silly, but it was more therapeutic for me, just to start producing little tracks and coming up with weird little videos and syncing them up, throwing them out on TikTok and see how it worked. And I was getting a lot of good feedback about it. And then eventually Tack came back to me and was like, "Hey, I think you literally told me I was just going to do it. So
I was like, yeah, here it is. Yeah. Well,
you're going to do this now."
yeah. Wasn't the first one we did the cover of "Terrible Eye" for Nine Inch Nails?
Yeah, it was Terrible Lie and
Yeah.
like the redoing of Robot
Robot
Boy.
Boy, I think.
And Robot Boy, yeah, the re-release of Robot Boy last year. Yeah, that was the first thing. Yeah, I said, here, send me your stuff, and he sent it over. And
So,
I have the
so Tack, what was that like? How open were you? I mean, were you a little resistant at first, like, hey, I've been doing this, so, or were you surprised when you started sending, you say, hey, this is actually pretty good?
Well, first he already started showing me stuff, and so I already knew what he does. So I always kind of chalk it up to this. I'm really more the guy that gives you the concept, the breakdown, and I'm like, I like this hook. David and even Kyle in that matter, and Rob and everybody, they flesh out that idea and make it what I consider more grown up,
Sure.
or more mature sounding. And so, like Time Bomb, use that for instance. The very last part of the song, where it kind of fades out and has all these kind of cool, noises and things. That's all David. He built that entire soundscape of that aspect, right? Where I wouldn't necessarily have gotten so detailed and been able to do as much as he did on that. So I already knew he was going to give me that kind of score, that movie feel to it, right? And that I feel like is what Razor needed on this new kind of sound, this new kind of refresh of what we're doing. And so now I can hand him a track that's 3/4 of the way done and say, go have at it. And very little do we adjust anything. We may adjust some volumes or something like that. But other than that, we pretty much leave everything the way it was. And I think we're all kind of firing on the same cylinders of where we want to be and what it sounds like.
And Kyle, again, being one of the guitar players in the band, I was curious, how do you guys go about splitting up the guitar parts? Is it just one guy takes the lead and the other guy takes the rhythm parts, or how do you guys split that up?
Not exclusively. I'd say it kind of just depends on the part as kind of what works better style wise for me and for Rob too. Rob's got Rob's gotten a certain feel to his playing that's, he likes to get real deep into some of the effects and stuff and give these like real almost kind of soundscapes as well. Whereas me, I'm I like a lot of like, do metal and like obviously with the metal background and stuff like that too, which is a little bit more just raw kind of power stuff, so we'll kind of gravitate towards those sorts of things. But just kind of whatever the arrangement works too, with some of these songs, it's like one of us needs to play the low notes and one of us has to do the harmony above, and we just kind of sometimes it's whoever writes what part and sometimes it's just whatever we're feeling. So
And so where's the band from? Are you guys all from the same area? You live around each other?
Not anymore. So you got some in Kansas City, Missouri, some in St. Louis, Missouri, and then we're outside Dallas, Texas.
Okay, so my next question is, as far as recording, you mentioned that you're working on a new album that's going to be coming out in the fall. As you're recording these songs, I was curious. Obviously, you don't live right around the corner from each other, so I take it everybody kind of works on their separate tracks, and then you piece each song together. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So used to pretty much all of us were based out of Kansas City. So everyone would come over to the studio. We would, play with ideas, structure it out. But about 4.5 years ago, both myself and Kyle ended up moving out to St. Louis. And so the rest of the band members had remained in Kansas City. And so that was a little bit of a change up. And so what we do now is we send tracks back and forth. We're all pretty tech savvy. So we'll send tracks back and forth and we'll have ideas that we want to do on it. And so either they'll come into town and we'll just do like a 3-day writing session to work out everything we want, or some of the members, like David, has the ability to record anything he needs to in a professional setting. And he sends that back over and then we just tweak from there. It's actually working out pretty well.
That's a beautiful thing about technology. It is what it is. I mean, I mean, a garage band these days has the ability, maybe if they got the right kind of recording equipment to make it sound pretty professional. And I say that because can you imagine, once upon a time, if your band members would have moved that far away, to be like, okay, well, you're either out of the band or the band's breaking up. So it's great that it didn't come to that. You guys are able to keep it together in spite of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a transition. It definitely was a transition. We did lose a longtime drummer during that
Uh-huh.
phase, and part of it was during COVID and things like that.
Wow.
But that's just a transition on that kind of stuff, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, we all talked about it, figured out how it would work, what makes sense, and then how can we be productive? We don't want to wait 2, 3 years to release
Yeah.
an album. We want to do it yearly. We want to be able to back that up with touring and things like that. And so as long as everybody works professionally, gets their things knocked out that they need to do, it actually works pretty clean now.
And David, as an engineering guy, what's that like? You're kind of responsible for putting all these songs together and editing everything. What's it like to have to do that? And you finally hear, when a song is fully edited and completed, you're like, wow, we really nailed this one here.
When I'm working through those tracks, it's kind of like what Tack was saying, and just listen to it repeatedly over and over and over. I'll multitask and do other things while I'm listening to it and just continue to refine and add and probably over add to it, and to the point that it feels like it's got the right amount of texture to it. And then I hand
Okay.
it back to Tack, and eventually Kyle does the final icing on the cake, I suppose.
Okay. And why don't we go around? I guess since we're talking to David, we'll ask you first, David. You want to talk about some of your musical influences that kind of inspired you to do what you're doing these days with this band?
Yeah, because then everybody else is a copycat. Definitely Nine Inch Nails is a huge impact, but there's a lot of I like a lot of piano stuff, so Max Richter has always been a big influence on what I do. Aphex Twin has always been out there as well. And it's
It's
pretty
interesting you
much,
say that because a lot of the stuff I grew up on, I always loved keyboards and piano and music. I'm a hard rock, old school metal guy, but you know what? Like, I think there's a place, and like you listen at stuff like Deep Purple, Boston, Bon Jovi. These are some of the bands we all grew up on. You go back to Deep Purple, and you listen to anything John Lord did on those classic albums. I dare have anybody say, keyboards suck or don't belong in rock music. I think there's a place for everything.
yeah, definitely the Who as well. I mean,
Yeah,
they
the
were one
Who,
of the
yeah.
first to do percussive synthesizers, so that was always a huge thing to me as well.
Okay, I guess we'll throw it to you, Kyle. Like, who are your musical influence as far as your guitar guys that influenced you to do what you're doing?
Oh man, that's like the hardest question you can ask. I don't know. So I've been able to find inspiration from a ton of different places. Prior to COVID, I was actually a live sound engineer, so I got to do all kinds of different music. Everything from the rock metal stuff to country to house to I mean reggae, you name it. So it I've actually had a very unique opportunity to be immersed in all these kind of different cultures and styles and stuff. So I'd like to say I've kind of picked up a little something from everything. So but
Oh,
if I had to name drop, uh,
oh that's
Mhm.
yeah. Go ahead, name
oh
drop.
yeah, no,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. If I had a name drop, I'm definitely very much into like the Gojira, Mastodon, Meshuggah kind of thing as far as like metal. Like I said earlier too, I listen to a lot of like house music, so like Mark Knight, that sort of thing. A lot of the tech house stuff, but yeah, like I said, inspiration can come from anywhere. So
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, I listen to everything from Aerosmith, Kiss, Whitesnake, Deep Purple, the Eagles, Tom Petty. So there's something for everybody in there. And like even a band like the Eagles has been around like 40, 45 years or something like that. For a reason those tunes are still being played on the radio, they got great hooks, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And let me ask you, Kyle, you mentioned about the fact that you're also a recording engineer.
Yeah.
You and David ever get together and compare notes?
We probably should actually. We probably should do that more.
I mean, how about
Kyle's
you?
way better at it.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah, everybody's always their own, worst critic. But it's
Oh yeah.
from my ears at least, the music I was listening to prepping for today's interview that you guys have up on your site. It just all kicks ass. Now, How about you, Tack? Who's some of your influences?
I got a lot.
Good.
Nine Inch Nails is going to be a big one ever since I was a kid. Some smaller names out there. Gravity Kills, Stabbing Westward were really
Wow.
big on those kind of a little bit more rock side of it. Definitely on that side. More modern. Kay Flay is a phenomenal musician. I'm a huge fan of things that she does.
Okay.
A lot of good hooks, a lot of really good hooks and things like that with her stuff. And then if I want to go really old school, something like Supertramp would
Oh
be
wow, that
definitely
is old
that, right?
school.
Yeah, right.
Come-
Lots of
Let's go back
keyboards
to
in that realm, right?
go back to
So things like
1970s where I come from. But that's
yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
There's a number. Yeah, yeah.
See, I can hear all, kind of all those varied influences in your guys' music, and I think that's why maybe you got a unique sound. You don't sound like everybody else. Now, obviously, everybody's not living around the corner from each other, so I take it you guys don't. Have you played out live much, or talk a little bit about that?
The last couple of years, no. So we were really hitting stride in 2019 into 2020. We were hitting festivals, we were hitting the road a lot. That all came screeching halt, just like everything else. And then, life changes, things like that. So really, what we've done now is re-geared the band up. We released an album last year to kind of
Sure,
reintroduce we're here
sure.
again, and then the new album, this and these new singles are our kickoff to going back out on the road. So this fall into winter, we're going to be on the road a lot more. It will be a few different people. I don't think David will be on most of those dates.
Okay.
He may do a guest thing here or there. But Rob will be out there. Skylar, who's on bass, she'll be out there on the road with us. If Rob isn't able to, we've got Drew, who will probably be doing some rhythm guitar work for us live and stuff like that. So it's a lot of movement, especially with band members being in different cities.
Mhm.
But we absolutely are going to get back on the road and be able to support the new album that's going to be coming out.
As far as the new album is coming out in the fall, you guys signed you got a deal, or are you going to release it independently?
We always release independent. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's two sides of that. You know, the beautiful thing about doing it independently is if it's a hit or people like what you guys do. On one hand, you also stay in control of your music. And then if any money does come into it, all goes back into the band, right?
Yep. Well, and, first and foremost, we do it for the love of the music,
Sure,
and then we
sure,
want to
sure.
bring it to people. So although it is a business,
Yeah, yeah.
we like to keep it fun, and we don't want it to feel like a business.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
I think that's the key to anything being successful in life. You got to enjoy what you do. You got to
mhm.
or if it's not fun, you don't enjoy it. It's like got to get up, go that do that job again.
Yeah,
And
right.
especially you don't want a rock band, or any kind of band, I guess, to seem like it's a job.
Yeah, no. As soon as it's not fun, it doesn't make sense, right? We can go not have fun other things. Uh, so.
And then it's interesting too that you're talking about that you haven't played for a few years and you're looking to get back on the road. I imagine the fact that you guys don't live down the street, you don't get to see each other. It must be, that must be something to look forward to going on the road and finally getting to see Kyle and Dave and all these other people that you're going to be playing with.
Yeah, absolutely. So years and years and years ago, back when we were a much smaller band, and different people were in the band at the time, live wise, we rehearsed every Sunday, like a lot of local, garage
Uh,
type bands stuff like they do. And you play for 5 hours in your basement, and you go, okay, I think we can do this one new track, because
mhm.
we have such high caliber musicians now. Everybody learns their parts.
Yeah, yeah,
We come together before we go out and do our stint of dates, and we run through the tracks, make sure we're all buttoned up, we're ready to go. But it's no longer like a tedious thing, and so we really get to keep the music fresh when we go out
yeah.
on the road, and then that also keeps us fresh when we are on the road together. We love traveling.
Sure.
We always joke we go to dead malls. We joke about it, but we do it. We'll find any mall that's doesn't have a lot of stores in it, and we spend whatever time we can there having fun, playing around. There's videos all over the place of us being stuck inside of like the tiny little helicopters and things like that. Skylar's the smallest of all of us, so she usually gets volunteered for that, and so it's always fun. We like to have fun, and none of us are I don't know, Kyle, what would be the word? I don't know, like asses or anything like that necessarily.
Yeah.
On the road, everyone's pretty chill. So we just like to have fun. It's almost a vacation at the same time for us.
On one hand, I think would be that fun aspect, fact that you guys don't get to see each other. It seemed like you guys get along pretty well. You got a pretty good chemistry. I mean, I don't know. that's just what I'm kind of observing today. Everybody's complimentary of each other. It must be a great feeling not being a band that everybody lives right down the street where I'm looking forward to seeing these guys. Yeah, hey, how you been, Kyle? How you been?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you,
I mean,
yeah.
David, what last time we saw each other was I don't know, 8 months ago, 10 months ago, something like that. And then before that, it was a couple years. Yeah.
Couple of
Yeah.
years, wow. But yeah, you guys see, it sounds like if anybody didn't know, they'd swear you guys were in the room together. That's how good the music sounds. That's how tight it sounds. Yeah.
And most of the band members are usually playing video games in the middle of the night with each other anyway, so we'll get on and play different games. So there's a lot of team building going on around all that.
Wow. Yeah. And now, Kyle, I was curious. You being a guitar player, you want to share with us how old you were when you first started playing? And I was curious, did you teach yourself? Did you take lessons?
I never took any formal lessons. I was mainly kind of self-taught. But when I first started playing, my grandparents actually helped me get into music at a super young age. I mean, I've got pictures of me pounding on piano when I was like, 3 years old or whatever. But when I first really started playing, I think I was probably around 10 or so. And I actually started playing with my grandparents' oldies band. They had a oldies band where they played, a bunch of old,
Wow. How fun is that? Wow. Keep it in the
yeah.
family. Well, guys, I'd like to thank you for coming on. It was great getting to know you. Before we wrap it up for today, you want to let people know where they can find you and the band on line and how they can purchase your music?
Yeah. So we're on all social media platforms. We do have a website, razorwirehalo.com, all just one word. And we're on Spotify, we're on Pandora, we're on all of those things. If you dig real deep, you can find really old tracks of our stuff, but you're not going to find them on streaming services. So it'll be a fun little Easter egg hunt for you guys on that side of it.
And let me ask you, in closing, do you guys have any like those real diehard fans that have been with you since day one show up at any of the gigs ever?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That must
Yeah.
be fun.
And some of the great things is some of those people end up becoming really good friends. We have really good friends now that we met at shows and just continue to
Well,
talk.
Kyle, David, Tack, thanks again for coming on Catacris TV. It's been great getting to know you, and we'll have to do it again down the line. You guys take care and good luck with the new album when it comes out.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.